Texas Hold'em is one of the most often played poker variants. Today we'll teach you the basics of Texas Hold'em poker. What exactly is it? It's a poker game against other players. There will eventually be 7 cards in play. 2 are a little secretive, they're your own cards. They are also called hole cards. And there are 5 cards laid out on the table, which are also called community cards. Each player uses these 7 cards to make the best possible combination of 5 cards. And the player with the strongest hand will win. On the table there's a dealer button. Everyone takes their turn to be the dealer. The dealer button moves around after each hand. The person on the left of the dealer is the one who starts the betting in every hand. They're called the small blind. The big blind is to the left of the small blind. So what are the blinds? The blinds are the things that start the action going, they are compulsive. In this case, let's say the small blind is 10 chips. The big blind has to be twice as much, so it's 20 chips. This is called a 10-20 game, with the 10 being the small blind and 20 being the big blind. You'll see games of all different levels. Texas Hold'em can be played between 2 to 10 players. In this example, we will have 6 players. 2 cards are dealt to each player, and they will have a little look at their cards and think, have they made a good start to the hand? Next, the first round of betting begins. The player to the left of the big blind is the first one to act. They have 3 options: to fold, to call, and to raise. If they fold, the situation is simple. When they look at their cards, they think, that's too expensive, I don't have a very strong hand. I'm going to fold my hand. The cards will be folded, nothing will be risked, and you may really have many hands at poker when you do not lose any money. The second option is to call. The player could think, I'm not doing too terribly, but I don't want to commit too much to the hand. To call at this stage, the action is the same as the big blind, which is 20 chips. The third option is to raise. Raising is adding money to the pot. An aggressive player does a lot of raising. In this case, player number 4, who is to the left of the big blind, is the first one to act. Let's say player 4 calls 20, player 5 raises to 40, and player 6 calls. Then player 1 calls, player 2 calls, and player 3 calls as well. Player 4 adds another 20 to call. Now each player has got the same amount committed to the pot, which is 40 chips, and that's when the round of betting ends. After the first round of betting, the dealer will burn a card and reveal 3 cards. This is called the flop. With your 2 cards here, you'll be matching up to see how good a poker hand you can produce there. The betting will reopen to the left of the dealer. There is no compulsory betting in this round. At this point you can do something called checking. Checking is when there's no action, and you don't want to commit any money in the pot, but you don't want to get out of the pot either. You can just check and move the action to the next player. In this case, player 2 checks, player 3 checks, but player 4 here very confidently bets 200 chips. Then player 5 folds, and player 6 folds as well. Player 1 calls with 200 chips, player 2 and 3 also call with 200 chips. Now all the bets are equal, this betting round is ended. Next thing that happens is called the turn. The dealer burns another card and reveal the 4th card. Again, to the dealer's left is the first to act. Player 2 checks, player 3 folds, player 4 raises to 500 chips, player 5 and 6 both fold their cards. Then player 1 calls 500, player 2 also calls. That's the end of this betting round. Finally, we got our last card delivered, and this is called the river. The dealer now burns a card and reveal the last card. In this example, let's keep things nice and simple. Player 2 checks, player 4 checks, and player 1 checks. The last thing to do is to see who the winner is. Player 1 has a pair of aces. Player 2 has 3 of a kind, and player 4 has a full house with 3 nines and 2 tens. Full house ranks higher than both 3 of a kind and pair, so player 4 wins the pot. We will talk about poker hand rankings in the next video. All the cards are brought in. The dealer button will move across 1, and we are ready to start our next hand.